Hello, everybody. Welcome back. There's an enhanced risk of severe weather tomorrow and a slight risk of severe weather on Tuesday. This is your update for the Central Plains, including Norman, Oklahoma. Record high temperatures or near record high temperatures continue this weekend. Yesterday, the actual high was 93, just shy of the record of 94. Today, the forecast is 93 degrees again. The record high is 96. The temperatures will finally cool down. We'll talk more about that towards the end. But in between that cool down, we have 2 rounds of severe weather. First off, tomorrow, Norman in the center of the enhanced risk, a 10% chance of tornadoes, 30% chance of wind, 30% chance of severe hail with these storms. Could be relatively interesting. Again, Norman getting the center of the action here on Sunday. Could be interesting. Again, these storms are expected to develop into at least a somewhat linear formation, which means wind is the main concern. But hail and a few tornadoes are certainly not out of the question. Even once it becomes linear, tornadoes can still form given the updrafts with this storm. And I'll show you guys the updrafts here in a second. After I show you guys the radar, this is the radar 8 p.m. tomorrow night. And it has a line of storms over Norman with the southern end of the storms basically at Norman. And that south end is where we watch for potential tornadic formation with a type of storm such as this. And with that in mind, we do see that the updrafts basically slice over Norman and Oklahoma City, as well as the general OKC metro area, central Oklahoma, basically heading up 44, I think it is, up to Tulsa. And that's mainly what's going to happen with this is the storms are going to move up 44. And that's where our area of main concern is at least in terms of tornadoes and hail. Wind, of course, possible throughout all of the risk areas. The main threat here is a linear one. As we move on to the sounding, again, I talked a little bit about this yesterday. Cape values remaining relatively high, but still a bit lower than yesterday. The hodograph up there in the left-hand corner, again, curved, not the most beautiful thing we've ever seen, but still curved. Tornadoes certainly possible. Dew point's gone down a bit since yesterday, which is good news if you don't want a tornado. That means we don't have quite enough moisture in the air. There's still plenty of moisture in there, don't get me wrong, but that's just something that we're going to keep our eye on. Shear's gone down a bit, but still decently sufficient. And all the other factors there on that sounding are well enough to sustain severe weather activity in the Norman area. As we move on to Tuesday, we're going to be looking at a 15% chance of severe weather, this time from southern Nebraska down through Kansas into Oklahoma and parts of northern Texas. Large hail, severe wind, and a few tornadoes, all severe hazards possible. The specifics of this we'll know later on, but again, it's shifting more away from Norman, which is good or bad news depending on how you look at it, and not necessarily tornadic, which again is good or bad news depending on how you look at it. Taking a look at the 6Z GFS for 1 a.m. on Wednesday, that is Tuesday into Wednesday, we do see that line of storms setting up from Kansas down into Texas. A few storms preceding it. It's going to be a relatively wet day on Tuesday, regardless of the storms that come Tuesday night into Wednesday. And that's kind of where we're at with these storms at the moment. Between that line and Norman, I decided to pick up a sounding for us. We do see the dew points up there a little bit. Cape's up there. Shear isn't nearly as high as what it was. That's reflected there on the hodograph. Not a beautiful curve. And so tornadoes not necessarily going to be a main threat there. There's a decent amount of sin as well, the opposite of Cape, inhibiting the potential energy of severe weather and storms. And so, again, severe weather is possible, but it's not as crazy as it is, say tomorrow here in at least Norman. Other areas may be different. And cold weather will wrap up the week for Norman. We're going to have highs around 80, lows in the mid-50s to start the week. And as we head to the middle of the week, we're going to be looking at highs in the upper 70s, lows around 60. And as we head into later next week, this is when it gets cold. or at least colder. Highs around 70, lows in the mid 40s. Those mornings are going to be nice and chilly as we head into next weekend. That's all for now. Chris Dixon for the Catholic Media.